Thank you for joining. This is the Entrepreneurs Chat. We're a group of entrepreneurs meeting every weekday between 8 and 9 to talk about different aspects of business, different aspects of entrepreneurship. So super exciting today, guys. We are with Lebo from Seaga Valley Wines. We're going to be talking winning in the food and beverage industry for small business. What are the dynamics involved? I'm very passionate about this because I know there are a lot of people out there who are, gifted, whether it's cooking, making beverages and all these things. However, the question is, how do we penetrate the market, right? How do we create a market for these things? How do we start, being recognized out there as businesses and, distributing our products, what we have. And I'm super excited about that. Thank you everyone for joining the chat. Lebo, thank you very much. Lebo, how are you doing?
Good morning. I'm good. Thanks. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thanks, man. I'm fantastic. Thanks. Yes, thank you for joining us. If you can perhaps introduce yourself and what your business does.
Okay, so I am Lebo Seaga. A 30-year-old from Tembisa in Joburg in the East End, actually. So I'm in the wine industry. I've got a wine business that I've been doing since 2020. But it's been something that's been an idea for quite some while, since 2016, 2017. So yeah, let me just briefly get into it.
Okay.
So I finished varsity in 2014. And then after graduating, that's when I went into the retail industry. That's when I started working.
What did
Yeah.
you study? So I like to go into specifics, to know, okay, this person had a dream of being an accountant or an engineer or whatever it is. You know what I'm trying to say? Those are the stories, right?
So, with everything that's been happening, I've always had a big interest in numbers, right? So I've always wanted to study anything that has to do with accounting. But for some reason, after high school, I ended up studying IT because that's what I grew up, and everyone in front of me was just doing IT. So I was like,
Those were
okay,
the
let me
days.
just,
Those were the IT days. Eh? I remember like, what
yeah.
is IT? No, no, do IT. Do IT.
Yes,
Oh man, I'm
everyone was
trying
like
to.
in IT. Then I did it, and then after passing my first year, I'm like, this is not for me. It's not happening. Then I decided to then enroll for corporate governance finance with UNISA. Then that's when I graduated. I did corporate governance finance with UNISA. And then after graduating, it was 2014. Then I was like, okay, what do I do now? Because one thing about me, I've always told myself a year mustn't pass of me doing nothing and just sitting. I've always had that mentality. So I was like, oh, instead of me going back to school, let me just try find something to do. Then I went job hunting. Luckily, I got a job at the scam as a cashier. That was in 2014 when I started. I was a cashier behind the till. Then working there, starting to get to understand what is a work environment. How do we maneuver this thing? Because I'm new, I don't know what to do. All I know is just books. So how do I then maneuver being in a working space? From there, I just grew the interest of wanting to learn one thing after the other. In a space of 3 months, I was promoted from a cashier to a customer consultant. And then in a space of 4 months again, I was promoted from customer consultant to a cash office administrator. And then from there on, about 2 months later, because in the cash office I didn't spend time there, I then got a promotion to be transferred to the Discam head office, the one that's in Midrand, to work as a switchboard operator, because that was like the entry level of me getting into the head office. All right. I was excited because now no more retail hours, more of corporate 9 to 5. So doing
Mm.
that, slowly, gradually, just learning other environments. Then I got also promoted going into oncology as an admin assistant. Then from there on, one of the scam's clients decided, no, man, I love how you're handling us. Can you come and work for us as a finance clerk? It's like, oh, okay,
Wow.
cool. Then I
Okay.
went to work for Msebe Investment Holdings, which is an investment company. Basically, franchises your Pick and Pays, liquidity stores, fruit and veg, all sorts of retail stores. So I was working for them as a finance clerk until a year later, Discam decided to call me back and say, "Hey, we
Wow.
want you back. Come this side. There's a finance clerk post."
Oh man,
We
that's
want to decide. I was like, okay, cool, no problem. Then I went back to this game. Then I started working as a finance clerk, also as a data clerk at the same time. And then
wow.
during
They
that
wanted
time,
you there.
and I didn't understand why, because out of nowhere I would get these calls and emails like, "Hi, we saw your CV. You once worked with us. What are you doing? Are you available? We've got this and this for you." Because I didn't understand. Okay, I didn't apply, so what's happening? But I guess it was the recognition of my hard work, I guess. So during all that
No,
movement
they'll
and
be
time,
definitely checking you out. It's not from nowhere. Eh?
I
They just
guess
won't say they've been checking you out, but they know what happened.
yes. So
Wow. But
from then on,
before you
yes.
continue, don't lose
Mm-hmm.
your trail of thought, right? But before you
Yeah.
continue, and I was not gonna do this, but there's such power in what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Just in terms of not finding, something that you're looking for, but you had that mindset, just saying that, you know what, I can't spend a year without doing something, right? I need to
Yeah.
do anything,
Yeah.
regardless of where I'm going to start from, I need to do something. you know
Definitely.
where did you get that from? Like, where would you say you got that from? Because many people get stuck, right? Even in our own businesses, even when things don't work out or whatever, sometimes people get stuck because they're like, you know what, I'm not getting what I applied for, I'm not getting what I think I deserve you
Yes.
know now imagine people seeing me as a cashier. It's probably, I don't know, was it like in the same place you grew up or whatever, I don't know.
Yes.
you
Yeah. It
know
was in the place where I grew up.
So it's like, but I mean, you'd say like maybe it's like people are wondering, what are you doing as a cashier? You
Yes.
graduated
Because,
corporate
yeah,
government
it was that.
finance.
It
So
definitely
so
was that
so
because
where do you get that?
so growing up, like I've mentioned before, I was raised by my grandparents, because my parents passed away while I was very young. I was in primary school. So, my aunt, who is my mother's cousin, decided, okay, because my grandmother's house is a family house and everyone is just there, let me take me and my brother. And she decided she was going to raise us because she wasn't having kids at that particular time. So me growing up around them, her and her husband are very like they are book smart. Give them books at any moment. They even today they're still studying. They're still pursuing their studies. So growing up around them, there was no time for, okay, let's go play, let's go do this. Whenever you're bored, read a book, do something, equip yourself with something, do
Wow.
something, don't just sit. So it's something that they instilled within me from a very young age, that you just cannot sit and do anything. If you're watching your cartoons and you feel like you're bored, grab a book and read. If you're watching your book is boring you, find something creative to do something. So they would like take us out to parks, explore different things, explain different stuff to us. So I think that's where it all started, where I was like, okay, even when I was in high school, I was, doing drama, doing this, investing my time into different things besides school, because I needed to understand, okay, what is it that, like, what's my purpose? Because when we're in high school, we like, it's difficult for us to actually pinpoint, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to do. So they opened that space for me to say, explore, figure yourself out. Don't just sit and say, okay, I don't know what to do. Figure yourself out. So yeah, it's the
Mm.
platform that they created for me up until I finished high school, and then they like, you're not going to take a gap year. You must do something, enroll into something.
Yeah,
You're just not going to sit. So that's why I ended, because I didn't know what to do. Okay, I ended up now enrolling into IT because everyone is doing it. But then the moment I realized, okay, this is not my niche, this is not me, I went into something that I know that excites me, numbers, accounting. Then that's when I went to UNISA, and they were still happy. So even when I graduated, they're like, okay, so now that you're done, are you going back to school? Are you going to look for a job? What's happening? You're just not going to sit and, and do nothing. So
wow.
I had no choice but to do something. So that's something that, yeah, it grew on me till today, because when once I started working, I've always told myself a year must not pass by with me not doing nothing. I must either enroll for a course, do something new, but I must just do something. Hence why even today I'm still studying as well.
Wow, man, that's interesting. That's interesting. So now, like, you get this job as a cashier, right? You just and I like it that because it was still dealing with numbers. You're counting money, you know. So so it was still in
Definitely.
the element, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's where sort of people sometimes miss it.
Yes.
Because yes, you've got this grand picture of what you want to do, where you want to be, and all these
Hmm.
things. But still, when you get into Discom or whatever it is, Nando's, and they're a cashier, you are
Yeah.
actually part of the system. You are actually an important part of that business. And it's up to
True.
you to recognize it for yourself, right? To say
Yeah.
that this is not just like a minimal thing that I'm doing. I'm actually learning.
Mhm.
I'm learning to interact with customers. You're learning customer service, client facing and all these things instead of
Yes.
just rubbishing it, right? And say, I've got a degree.
Yeah.
How can I be a cashier? Your friends coming in and all these things. It's one of those things. But I mean, someone said they, talk about flying up the corporate ladder, right? And Lawrence was saying, man, you getting promotions after promotions in 1 year. But what was your attitude there? What sort of do you think helped you to get those promotions? Because definitely they were seeing something on you, right? And they're saying, what, this position, she's too big for this position. Let's take it
Yeah.
up another position and all these things. That
Yeah.
was Zibwile and Lawrence. What do you think, and what sort of advice would you give maybe someone listening right now, or a young person, just
Mm.
in terms of attitude, in
Attitude.
just the corporate space? Yeah.
All right. So I think more than anything for me is my character. My character plays a huge role because I'm a very shy person, right? But at the same time, I love learning new things. So whenever I would see someone, like when I was a cashier, during times where the store wasn't busy, I would go to the customer consultant and ask her, okay, so if you're not here and a customer is to come and say, I want to check my point, how do you do that? Because we just cannot wait. And like, okay, da is not here, so the customer must wait. What do we then do? So she would show me all these things like, okay, are you busy? No, I'm not busy. Okay, come, let me show you. So this is what you do, what you do. So me always asking questions, I think that's what plays a major role, because even when we were like, the shop is closing, we're at the cash office. I'd ask the cash office administrator, okay, so when we cash up, what is it that we're actually doing? How do you prep the money? How do you do it so that when the morning comes at 7 o'clock, we are here, our cash flows are already ready for us to take to the tills? How do we do that? What is the process? Do you have to count the money? So I was always asking questions, not because I was nosy, because I wanted to learn. So that's me. Everywhere I go, I always ask questions. That's just who I am. I don't know how to explain, but that's just who I am.
Wow, man, no, that's very powerful. That's very powerful. And people see like, okay, this is someone who's actually thinking, right? They're not just a tool or just a cog on the thing that, okay, we can just replace one day when we automate and have self-checkout or whatever. This is
Mm,
someone who's actually thinking, about, what happens next, what's next, what's the purpose of what I'm doing right now, rather than just, looking at, okay, I'm just going to do my bare minimum and do this. So man, that's very powerful, man. That's very powerful.
mm,
Amatabo, thank you for the likes. Kabelo, thank you for sharing. Thank you for the likes. Brother Rahim, Discover Bales, OZM Otilia out in Lusaka. How's Lusaka this morning? K Joy, thank you for the likes. Guys, let's like the live. Let's share the live. You guys can tap on your screens as many times as you want. TikTok doesn't stop you. It just helps other people to see the live as well. So yes, that's awesome, Cassandra. Thank you for the likes. I know I disturbed your trail of thought. You had something really lined up. I don't know if you remember where you were. So you
No
said you had
problem.
just gone back. You had gone back to Discam, right? So you had gone back to
Yes.
Discam.
Then
Uh-huh.
me going back to the scheme, then working in the finance department, then I started growing an interest because now I think at that moment I was a point whereby, okay, I'm gradually, I'm starting to enjoy alcohol. What is it that I can drink? What is it that's good for me? What is it that I don't like? So that's when I was actually starting to explore myself in terms of the beverage industry. What is it that I enjoy the most when I say I'm drinking alcohol? So it then backtracked to, okay, so growing up, when we would go home during holidays, so my grandparents, from my grandmother's side of the family had like a farm. When you grow up in the rural areas and then there's like a specific farm there with the grapes, banana trees, all of these things. So I would see them whenever we're having a ritual or a celebration of some sort. They would usually brew beer, right? So they would either use the sorghum or the grapes. So
Mm,
seeing that process growing up, and I'm like, okay, so this is how they actually make the beer that we're drinking whenever we're celebrating. And then growing up in the Joburg side of town, then I also learned, okay, so this side of my family also enjoys wine. Whenever we are celebrating or we're doing anything, there must be wine somewhere there. But then I didn't
mm,
understand, okay, growing up, when you'd like steal yourself, like, okay, this thing is bitter. Why are they enjoying it? Up until I started now indulging in it, like, oh, okay, now I understand what is it that they enjoy when they drink your wine. So I grew this interest of wanting to find out what is wine? How is it done? What is the process? Then I started doing my research from there. Okay, what is wine? What contributes to making a wine? How is it made? How is it produced? How long does it take to make? Because growing up, it would take like a week and then it's ready to drink. But then
mm,
you wonder, okay, this bottled wine, how long does it take and how long can it stay and maintain its freshness, you know? Then started doing my researches. Yeah, I was mind blown up with the information that I was receiving. I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. So from just grapes, I didn't even know that grapes are actually the only fruit that has the acids that can maintain alcohol for the longest time. There is
mm.
no fruit other than grapes that can do that. So it's such information that actually dawned onto me that, okay, this, I need to do this, I need to start. But then with the research, I was like, it needed a lot of mind because back then when I was doing my research and I wanted to find out how much it costs to start a wine business, it was like 500,000
Wow.
just to
So
start.
tell me. So out of nowhere, so in your mind now, but what gets you to say, I want to sell this, right? Because from
Yes,
what you're saying is obviously your aunt and uncle, they are book smart, right? They are
yes.
into books. I don't know, they probably are PhDs, I guess, or something.
Going there currently.
Sorry?
They're going there now.
They're going there now, right?
Yeah.
And knowing those guys, normally entrepreneurship is another thing. I don't know,
Yeah.
but they're book smart,
It-
right?
yeah.
And and see, obviously, you're working fine. You like numbers,
Yeah.
accountants, accountants and entrepreneurship. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't
They
know.
don't
They,
normally
they
go
they
and
like
do
they
time.
like being safe. I think that's just my thoughts. I don't know if you're accountant here. You can lash out at me. It's fine. You let me know I'm wrong. It's fine. Um, but so where is this entrepreneur thing coming from though? Like to say that no, but I can sell these ones. To even like having
So
such
where it's coming
a
from, right?
huge dream, like to say that I can actually even like produce wines, out of nowhere,
Yes,
like from drinking to thinking that I gotta produce this and actually working on trying to make it a reality. Because a lot of people, it's not like I drink, Fanta and I say, but I can actually make this and put it on the market. So where does that come from?
so where that comes from, so growing up, while I was still in primary school, my mom used to have her own businesses. So she would sell alcohol, ice creams, she was a businesswoman in her own perimeter. And then after she passed away, no one pursued that business. And then
Mm.
growing up, I would see like, okay, so every time there's something at home, there must be boxed wine and just wine everywhere. So me being the calculative me, I'm like, okay, so if I can make, and that was like I was in, that's when I started working. I was like, okay, I was calculating my moves. Okay, if I start making wine and I sell this to my family, I would get something out of it more than just a basic salary, monthly salary. So how do
Also,
I then
let
go
me sell
about
to
it?
this one who are drinking all the time, who are buying wine all the time.
Yes. Yes, because it'll literally start from the day before when they're doing the preps, and then it would be an overnight thing up until the following day when we're now doing the celebrations and everything. Like, man, this is an opportunity. These guys are always drinking. And when I was still in high school, they didn't allow us to drink.
The
I'm
wine
like,
was flowing. It's truly saying, yeah, it was the people were drinking. So you're like, these are my customers. So you're like, in your mind, you're like, these are my customers, man.
these are, yes, I saw them as my customers. Like more than anything, I saw them as my customers because I was like, why must they now go and struggle with, okay, we can't find this type of wine here. Okay, now we must go 2 kilometers away to try and find the specific one that we want because it's nice. No, we can't compromise on this one. So I was like, but then they don't have to do the runarounds and everything. If I'm to produce it, then they know charity begins at home. So it must start here. So that's where I was just calculative about it. And then I was like, so this other day I'm at work, there's nothing to do. Then I go on the internet, start doing my research. You know, how long does it take? How can I do it? Because I knew that in a year we'd have a couple of events. Something is to be celebrated at home. So growing up in a family whereby everything is to be celebrated, I knew for sure that a year wouldn't pass by without us having 3 or 4 celebrations. Something is to be celebrated. And with that thing being celebrated, they would usually say, okay, what's everyone drinking? No, I want wine. I want this type of wine. Very few, basically only the most of the males were the ones that were drinking like your beers and stuff. But coming to the females, they would always tell you, okay, I want this type of red wine. I want dry wine. I want sweet wine. I want rosé. I didn't even know what rosé was at that time. They would just send us, go and buy rosé, go and buy Fourth Street, go and buy Autumn Harvest, all those things. So I was like, I was like, okay, this is an opportunity. Instead of them sending me, they should be coming to me and buying from me.
When you said four cousins, automobiles, I was just like, I'm sure those people in the varsity they understand.
Yeah,
That's not the varsity. That's
they
very nice.
definitely
Okay, four,
understand.
four cousins. Four cousins was the one. Four cousins was the so I was just so anyway,
Yeah,
no, that's awesome. So I think for you it is really about continuing your mom's legacy.
yeah,
Also like a big thing there. To say okay, let's do this. Which is I think
yeah.
is very
Because
amazing.
also, I'd like to think that coming from a family that understood what our surname means, right? So Seaga means a builder. So in everything that my family did, they made sure that they had an impact in the community, they had an impact in someone else's life, and they would made sure that whatever is it that's the impact is being achieved, they would celebrate. And you would understand and feel that they are actually celebrating that very specific milestone. So from my grandparents being family members actually being part of different programs, or what do they call
Community
them?
building
Community building,
organization.
yes. community building organizations, I understood that every time they achieved something, it calls for a celebration. They would come home, let's do this, let's do that. So I got to understand that oftentimes also we spend most of our times trying to build our careers, trying to build our families, our communities, trying to build ourselves to be some things. But when do we actually take the time off to celebrate? Because as much as we are celebrating, how many people are out there actually celebrating as much as we are celebrating? You know? So I was like, okay, I know my family understands how to celebrate things, but how do I then create an atmosphere for the person outside of my family to be able to celebrate just as how we're doing it?
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Itumeleng, thank you for the likes. Discover Bells, thank you for the likes. Joy, OZM, Junior, Lady Poppy Mavis, thank you for the likes. Guys, we can like the live. You can tap on your screens as many times as you want. I know it's a good live. You can share the live as well. Lebza, thank you for liking the live. Team Coach, thank you for liking the live. Lebo, thank you for liking the live as well. So cool stuff, man. So I think there's a lot of power in terms of you know being in the game, right? Being
Very,
inquisitive, and I think really the only way you actually can express that inquisitiveness is by being in the game, right?
yeah,
You actually have to be in something. As you're saying, like you were in that wine space, tasting the wines, wondering what's going on, asking questions, doing all
yeah,
these things, and for you to actually start learning, right? And doing research. And that's the thing that I found out as well, is that it's all about actually because once you're in the game, it's like once you start saying that, okay, I want to edit videos, I want to start creating my own Instagram videos, I want to start creating my own TikTok videos, and you
yeah,
start now discovering, oh, I can play with this, I can fast forward some of the parts, I can do
yeah,
voiceovers, oh, I can do that, I can do this, but you have to be in the game, and
in the
and that's the way that you Kwaba, it's you, Discover Bells. I was like, where is this lady today? Oh, it's you, Discover Bells. Hey, we were just saying, like, it's you there. Good to see you. Discover Bells. Okay, all right, all right, all right. Cool, cool. That's nice. So, all right. So, you doing your research. You see that,
yeah.
okay, starting a wine, did you see company or distribution? Is that like a wine
No,
manufacturing? What was 500K?
yes.
It was a wine
It's
manufacturing company.
wine manufacturing is starting it from scratch in terms of so you don't have sorry, a wine farm, but you want to use someone else's wine farm to do that. You're right. So you are hiring out their spaces and everything, whereby that 500,000 includes their cost sorry, for maintenance, labor. Basically you are hiring out their whole farm. So for me
Mm.
to start in terms of getting bottles, getting corks, getting foils, branding, everything. So it was literally totaling to 500,000, whereas now it has even increased because I was doing research recently, and to start that in Stellenbosch, it's like from 800,000 to 1 million per hectare, that is, you know. So yeah,
Mm.
it has went up. It has went up so bad.
Damn.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so that 500,000 was basically you starting your own manufacturing wine brand because
Okay, so
they
so
need,
does that include, so that includes the farming itself?
yes, yes.
Okay, so that
That
includes
is
the farming, but is it on someone else's bigger farm, or how does that work?
it.
So it's
So
just
how
on your.
our with the research that I conducted then, it was me using someone else's farm because with the research I was made aware that okay, you cannot have we don't produce wine grapes in Gauteng. The only provinces that produce wine grapes are Western Cape, Eastern Cape, and Free State. Those are the only three areas in South Africa where you can produce good quality grapes in terms of farming, nowhere else besides there. So I started now researching on between the three areas, which one was the best. Cape Town was the best. And then in Cape Town also, which ones were the best specific areas, were the best. Then Stellenbosch and Pearl Valley were the ones that were leading the front in terms of producing the good quality high quality wines. Then, okay, now that the areas are pinpointed, how much does it cost to actually start? That is the budget for your wine producing, manufacturing, bottles, equipment, everything. Because I don't have a farm, I will need to use someone else's, right? So the 500,000 then, or let me just say the 800,000 that you would use now per hectare to labor per hectare, it's
Oh.
800,000 when you are
And
starting.
at what point do you sort of break even in terms of how many hectares do you need? Can you become profitable at 1 hectare only, or you need to get the
As a
right
startup,
percentage of scale?
as a
Yeah.
startup, you'd be comfortable with 1 hectare and work your way up. You'd be comfortable
Okay.
because it would produce the minimum quantity that you'd be able to actually make that money back in like 2 years, though, depending on how fast you're selling and how what broad you are.
Okay, so you see that, okay, 500K, I don't have 500K now. So what's the plan now?
Hey, then the plan was okay, so what do I do now? This is the end goal, this is the vision that I have. So what do I do? I then do to raise that money? Because with my corporate salary, that's not enough because I also have other needs that I need to get up to, that I need to fulfill. So I started selling meat hampers.
Meat
Okay, from meat
hampers.
hampers,
Okay.
yes, meat hampers. From there, because with everything that I did, the end goal was to reach the specific vision that I wanted. So I knew that whatever is it that I do is only for temporary, you know, and I must give my utmost best to make it successful because of I want to reach that end goal. So I started selling meat hampers, started doing catering, started candle making. There's basically nothing I didn't sell.
Tell us, tell us about, tell us about the meat hampers, right? Because the thing is, yes, that's your story, but maybe someone is looking for an
So much is-
opportunity now, right?
yeah.
So how would that work? What's the opportunity in that, in terms
So
of
the
meat hampers?
opportunity is so how I came about doing meat hampers, I realized, okay, what's the one thing that people want every day? Like there is no way I can go a day without someone asking, okay, I need to buy meat, I need to do this. Like we are always cooking. So that's what came to mind. I was like, okay, meat. Then I started doing research. Where do I get cheaper meat? How do I bulk it? How do I price it? When I buy in bulk, how am I going to generate profit from it? So I started doing researches and then I found the only place that's actually cheaper, it's like 45 minutes away from where I stay. Okay, now because at that point I don't have a car, how do I get there? Now I need to include transport, whatnot. How am I going to price it? How much are people buying that very same amount of meat at your Checkers and Pick and Pays currently? So I just went as far as, going out to the stores, doing research, checking how much each meat costs, and then comparing it to that factory that I found out. So when I went to the factory, I also figured, okay, so they sell their stuff in bulks, which I can also resize. So I bought with 2 months salary that I had saved. I then started buying the bulk meat. Then I resized it and packaged it into a hamper with different meats. Then I started selling it. So I started with the ladies that stayed in the same street as me. I would go, knock, okay, I'm selling meat. This is what I got. It's this much. You can either pay me now, but because we're living in
Are
the
you
same
sure
street,
you're
you
shy
can
even?
take it. I am.
So you knock on people's doors, right?
I am.
Okay, all right.
So
So you
so I make
okay,
them
so you
aware
knock on
that
their doors, yeah?
okay, so I had to make them aware that okay, this meat I'm selling, but you can also take it and pay me month end, and I would write their names in the book and how much is it that they needed to pay. Then some took and then they said, okay, I'll pay you month end. Then come month end, now I've got my salary with whatever remainder of it and the money that I got from the ones who paid. And then I went back and restocked until now it became something that grew. I have to now deliver in different areas, and stuff like that. Then it become more of my customers were people who were like, okay, bring me this much for this month end, come and collect. So I knew for certain that, okay, this month I'm delivering this much meat, month end, this is how much I needed to collect. So it gave me enough time to plan. Then once that business now started sustaining itself and everything, I saw a gap, like, okay, so everyone is doing decor this, decor that, but no one is actually doing food because everyone is afraid that doing catering, you spend hours not sleeping, it's costly, it's whatnot. I was like, okay, because I already have the meat plug, how about I then introduce it into the catering space? What I then
Mm.
did is went into catering in terms of, okay, whenever you're doing your catering, I will supply you meat. Then I was supplying catering businesses with meat. Okay, catering businesses would be like, okay, I'm catering for this specific, for a funeral or a wedding or whatever. Can you please bring me this much meat? I would take that to them. Then when it got to a point where I then started my own catering company, it was easy for me because then the meat was coming from myself. The only thing that I had to spend on was your fruits, your veggies, and other stuff. So with the meat business, I also added catering to it so that I'm able to sustain and have all these multiple streams of income. Then when it started getting hectic in the catering one, I was like to my partner, okay, now it's getting a bit hectic. Can you offload a bit? Then it's like, okay, I'll take over the meat one. You deal with the catering one. Cool stuff. Ran with the catering up to a point where I was like, okay, now I feel like, because then I had my first child, I was like, okay, it's weighing a bit heavy on me. Maybe I need to find something that's not too drastic and it's not too hard labor. Then I started going, oh, from the catering, then I reduced to doing alcohol gummies.
What's that?
So I would do sweets. I was just experimenting. So I would do sweets that are infused with alcohol.
Okay, okay, okay. All right.
And from
Okay.
there, doing
Uh-huh.
those sweets, I was like, oh, okay, a lot of people love it. But then I just quickly, went out of it because I was like, okay, also with the alcohol smell and everything inside the house, I've got a newborn. It's not gonna cut it for me. I then went into into
Wow.
candle making. Then I
Who has
started
tasted
making.
alcohol gums, like gummy bears with alcohol?
Yes, yes, I'm gonna do them for you one day. You'll taste them.
All right. But anyway,
Just
all right.
taste.
All right. All
And then
right.
I went
Uh,
into candle making. I
Candle
started making
making.
candles. Yes.
So are you still
Then I
selling meat
started.
at this time, or you had
Yes.
dropped that? Okay.
No, it's still there.
Mm.
Then I started doing candles because at least that's something that I could do within my own space. I didn't have to go out and whatnot. I would still be able to look after my child while I'm still at home. People would just come and collect. I wasn't doing deliveries. And then, luckily, by then, we were able to secure the first car with my partner. Then we were able to now branch out and do bigger things. Then I was like, okay, now we're at a point where I think we are ready to start. So how I actually started the wine business while I was
Wait,
still
wait, wait.
working.
So can I ask you something, ne? So
Yes.
how did you learn about making these candles?
Research. Research YouTube and watch videos and then find places where I
As a
can get
research
cheap
guy.
supplies,
Mm.
whereby I would go to those places and you can most of those places you can go there using a taxi. So I'd have to use a taxi, then from using a taxi, taxify to that specific place where I get those supplies.
Mm, mm. Wow. So,
So
so, so, so wow, that's interesting. I just wanted to say that. So do you think like the businesses you said now, of course,
mhm.
catering, like the meat business, would you start that business even today? Let's say you're in
Yes,
the same position with the current
definitely.
conditions. Because you know how people say there are no opportunities, hey,
There's
what, this and this.
always an opportunity.
Mm.
Having a business, meat business, ne, in this current state, you'd have to look at it in a mindset that, for example, which house doesn't have a table, right? So definitely that everyone cooks every day.
Mm.
There is no out of 10. 9 people will cook every day. Out of 10 caterers are cooking on a weekly basis. That's for sure. So you need to have that mindset that, okay, I'm not starting it because, okay, I want to make money. What problem are you solving? Are you now saying to that caterer out there who's cooking every week, you don't have to go buy meat. I will be your runner. I'm going to go buy that meat, come and deliver it to you. You pay me. It's going to cost you this much. That is
Mm.
an offload on their shoulders because now they don't have to go run around looking for meat everywhere. They know that, okay, if I call Lebo, she's going to bring me this, and that. This is the amount of meat that I want. It's going to be enough. Each and every household every month spends almost like 2,000 Rand on meat only. I don't
Okay.
include any other groceries, on meat only. So it's something that's, it's an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing.
No, that's interesting. That's interesting. Guys, thank you for everyone who's liking the live. Shupex, thank you for liking the live. Lady Poppy, Simpiwe, Abongile, Opulence Beauty, Okuhle, Sinazo, Amazing Age, thank you for liking the live. Lady Lee says there are a lot of opportunities. I'm selling school snack
True.
hampers. Wow, that's very interesting. That's very interesting. Man, Monare, thank you for liking the live. All right, cool stuff. Then yes, so now we are in that place. Do we now have the 500K or we are close or whatever?
No, I don't. So what I then do, like, okay, with all
Mm.
the money that's been saved, how do I then do it? So I started now contacting different wine farmers to find out how is it that they work and how much it would actually cost in real. So with that, I had to call, like make a few phone calls, send out a few emails to find out how is it that they work. And then I stumbled upon one that people are currently using now, whereby you just buy bottle that's already done, and then you label it and then you redistribute, which in turn will cost you more because you have to pay for shipment, you have to pay for labels, you have to pay like everything. So it you end up spending more because you are busy running around trying to get everything, and getting those bottles from Western Cape or wherever to come to for example Gauteng, it will cost you. So you end up having to price your wines at like 200 and something, 300 and something, which then makes it hard for you to get into the market unless you have a specific target market. So with me doing the phone calls and stuff, I then stumbled upon one that says, okay, I've got a wine farm. I produce wines for a couple of wine brands. So what you do is on my wine farm, you tell me what is it that you want me to produce for you. Do you have a business plan? How do you want to do it? So I had to submit all the documents to, okay, this is what I want to do. And also at that point I was like, okay, I don't currently have a license, but I want to be able to acquire it, because even attaining that license in South Africa, there are a liquor license and a distribution one, it's like between 15 to 25,000 to get it, and it takes a while to also get it. But because I wanted to start, with me the main purpose was to start regardless. It's like, this is what I want to do. I know you have your own ingredients and flavors and recipes that you use, but I want specific ones because I've been, experimenting myself, these specific ones that I want. Can you do that? So it's like, okay, we can work around that. Let's see what you've got. But it will take time. We need to at least explore and experiment that for a month. I was like, okay, cool. I'm happy. It's like, okay, cool. So I'm only going to charge you for the labor, not for the farm as it's whole, because you don't have that kind of money. I was like, yes, that's what I want. So I was like, okay, I'm going to charge you for using my farm for the labor and the distilling of the wine and barreling. Then you can just pay a total monthly fee for that. It's like, okay, cool, I'm happy with that. Like, okay, then we're good to go. What is it that you want? Then that's when we started exchanging. Okay, this is the recipe that I use for this. This is the recipe that I use for that. It's like, okay, can I buy this recipe from you? On this recipe, can you please take this out, add this? Now we started communicating as to what is it that I want? How is it that I want it specifically?
Wow,
Then,
man, that's
yes.
amazing. So would you say, So this deal you entered into, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you're, would it be, is it the in terms of production, would that
Yeah.
like produce for you the same as the 1 hectare,
Yes.
thing we're talking about? It will produce the
Yes.
same. And
They
and
produce the same.
and how much would you say it would be as opposed to the 500K at the time or whatever?
So instead of me paying the 500K to start everything and then still pay the monthly charges of the labor, this and that, um currently I would just pay like, so I started with only 10,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I started with
Interesting.
only 10,000. Say, okay, now this is what you want to do. You're not going to pay for the samples because you're experimenting how you want things to be and the different recipes. So with the 10,000, I'm going to do the first batch for you that you've confirmed. And I was like, okay,
Well,
cool.
and,
I'm
and
happy
people
with
say, and
that.
people say like, there are no loans. Banks don't want to give us loans. Hey, yeah, yeah, this and
That's
that.
true.
But you're
That
saying
is
like for
true.
10K. Sorry?
Yes, that is true with the bank loan stuff because remember
Yeah,
when
it's
I
it's
started,
definitely true. Yeah, it's
yes,
definitely
because when
true.
I
But what I'm
started,
saying is sometimes
mhm.
people say when they say about their reasons for not doing business and stuff, it's like
Oh,
you need
yes.
a lot of money. You know what I'm trying to say?
No,
But but I
not
but
even.
I would say to you, where do you know how you paid your other 490,000 was through research.
Was through this.
Well, was
Yes,
through learning. That's how you paid that other 490,000, where someone else would get stuck just
stuck.
saying that, yeah, there are barriers, hey, there are this, you can't get
Yes,
into this business, it's about the Stellenbosch mafia, hey, what. But you're saying, okay, I'll pay this 490K through research,
yes,
and that's how you paid your fees.
yes. Because with that 10, I was like, okay, this is the flavors the recipes I'm confirming. This is how I want them. Then with the 10K, how many bottles am I gonna get? Then I was like, okay, I'll give you 2 cases of everything. And that's including the shipping and everything. So you must understand that with my variety, I've got like 14 different varieties, right? And then sorry, then that includes the MCCs and the non-alcoholics. So with that 10K, I was able to get my first stock, right? Then me getting my first stock, I made sure that it pushed. And with that 10K, each bottle of wine at that point, I was selling for 100 Rand in 2020 for
Mm,
100 Rand, and then the MCCs were 200. So I was like, okay, now that all the money went out, I need to make sure that this thing sells. What do I then do? Started selling to my family members, started selling to friends. Those are the people I started with. Started selling to them. Okay, now the business is in motion. What do I then do? Because as it grows, I'm gonna need to get funding and stuff like that. Then okay, the only thing to minimize cost, register for Courier Guy, become their vendor. Then you'll spend less in terms of shipments,
mm,
which worked perfectly for me. Then did the registration, signed up with them. Now the shipment cost were lowered, which now allowed me to say, okay, now you're saving much more money. What do you then do? So I needed to understand, okay, I needed to acquire licenses, permits, register for tax, all those things. How do I do that? Because now I'm excited. The business is going. I'm losing focus, but I needed to realign myself. Like, hey, these things that you needed to do. So with money coming out, doing licenses, permit, this, that. Now it's less money to reorder, but either way, it needed to be done. I did that then with, I think it was a third or fourth batch that I received. There was a guy who was hosting a comedy show in Tembisa. I was like, okay, I'm gonna approach him, ask him to sell at his comedy show because it's happening at night. And at that point, I had told myself, okay, I've got this stock. I don't know what to do anymore because everyone that I usually sell to has a bottle of my wine. because every something that I could extra. Watch video so how while I watch video, okay, just sit and say, okay, this stock, I'm gonna wait for them to finish and then they're gonna come by again. So I went to the comedy show, sold at the comedy show, met people who were like, no man, we host markets every month. Don't you want to come through and advertise your wine? Because we don't have any locally manufactured wines, because I would tell them, this is how I started, this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm maintaining it, this is what I have to do, you know all those things. Then getting speaking to those people and networking with them, I then started getting contacts, which is where I started respecting my humble beginnings. From just selling with a table, ice buckets, the wines there, having plastic cups there, branded, I get someone says, okay, I'm hosting a market at Kyalami. Come through month end. Like, okay, do I have to pay? It's like, no, at the moment you're not gonna pay. Just come for the first one, and then if you're happy, then you can pay for the second one, and then it will be an ongoing thing. I was like, okay, cool, I'm happy. Mind you, month end was like a week away from then. Then I call the farmer to say, dude, I'm gonna need more stock. This is the money I have. I'm gonna make a deposit right now. Can I get that stock in 3 days? It's like, okay, cool, no problem. Your stock is barreled, it's ready. I just need to bottle it. It's like, okay, cool. Can you do that tonight? It's like, yes, I'm gonna do that. Cool stuff. He does it 3 days. The stock arrives, prep, everything. Again, with the very same folding table of mine and a tablecloth, ice buckets, everything. I go to Kyalami. They're having this market. I left their stock out, nothing. People who don't know me. Then that's when I started, having this thing. Oh, so I can actually sell the wines without just me selling to the people I know. There's actually ways out there where I can get the brand out there. Then that's when I started attending these markets, attending festivals, all these events. Then from there, in one of the markets, one of the leaders like, okay, so I'm throwing a birthday for myself. Can you come through? I was like, more reasons for me to even do it. Went there. She was happy with the wine bar services where we did the welcome drinks, and then her people would buy the wines, and just it was only Seaga Valley with it that day. I was happy with that. I was like, oh, okay. So from just selling from the markets and doing individual sales to the general public, I can actually also get into the wine bar space. So it's not just about alcohol. I can only have a wine bar that's only just about wines. Then that's when the wine bar services started.
So tell me, right? So without obviously, this is not about trying to be shady or whatever, but would you say like this is how, in terms of getting those lines or getting talking to someone who produces whatever alcohol it is, would you say
Mhm.
that's how you get your biliatos, your more fires and stuff like that? Would you say
Yes,
like that's how that
yeah,
comes about?
definitely. It's wiser to actually talk to the farmer directly because then it works out cheaper. I don't have to sell my wine for 200 and something for me to make that profit. Currently, I'm selling my wines at 120, 140, 150, which is still market price related. I'm still affordable. Some would even tell me, why are you even going this cheap? Your wine is good quality. Why are you selling it this cheap? But because I understand that even with that 120, I'm still making my profit. So it's cheaper. Hence your Piliatos and all the other
For
beverages.
fire, yeah.
It, yes, it's easier to go that route instead of getting something that's already made, already there for you to just brand, because then they charge you more, whereas you still have to pay more in terms of your marketing supplies, your branding supplies.
Okay, so you said it's better to sorry, like I sort of so they basically you get someone saying I produce cognac, for
Yes.
example,
Yes.
but you can obviously have input in terms of ingredients. Then
Yes.
you sort of have your own label and how to market it and stuff like that.
Yes.
But
It's
you don't have
basically
to,
the buying of the recipe.
or it's
It's
buying the
basically,
recipe
yes,
and
because
it's in the production and stuff. You don't have to now
yes.
start getting buying line like setting up a line, setting up this and that. with all those complexities, employing a whatever engineer, chemists, and all these guys, you don't have to worry about it.
You don't have to worry about that because remember, the wine farmer already has that. He has people already working and doing that, right? Because currently also most of the farms as well use machines instead of people now. So then it weighs out way lesser as well. So you know that okay, if I get a wine farm that already has all these equipments, all these people that can do this, and I only pay for their labor, I only pay for the production and manufacturing of these things the way I want it to be, because I'm specific about this is what I want in my wine, these are the ingredients I want to be added. And he would say, okay, this is my recipe. This is my traditional way of doing it. I'm like, okay, for example, typical example, your Sauvignon Blanc. They'll tell you, okay, with my Sauvignon Blanc wine, I want to use your asparagus and your green peppers, right? To add while doing the manufacturing process and the barreling, I'm going to add your green peppers and thingy, your asparagus for it to have the specific taste that I want. Then comes Lebo to say, no, I don't want that. For me, after the grapes have been mastered and everything, can you add a grapefruit? Can you add a green apple? That's what I want because I still want my one to maintain that sweetness and not be too bitter as you would usually make it. Then he's like, okay, fine, let's experiment and see if that would work. It works and says, okay, your recipe works. Are you happy with it? Is this what you want? I'm like, yes, I'm happy. Then that is my recipe that he uses for my own brand. For all the other brands, he uses what they want. But for me, he uses the type of recipe that I want. So it's basically just buying the recipe that he has started already, only adding what I want to it.
Wow, man, that's amazing. That's amazing. Kilo, thank you for the likes. Marumo, thank you for the likes. Nguenya, thank you for the likes. Eva, thank you for the likes as well. Man, this is quite exciting, guys. If this is your first time here, join our WhatsApp group, Success Inspiration. The link is in the bio in my link tree, so you can know when we go live and who we go live with. So you can join that WhatsApp group now. It's just so all you need to do is just click here on my link tree here. And what will happen is that it will take you. Okay, it's supposed to open up. I don't know what's going on. So it will it will open up, and you can join the WhatsApp group. It's like below here. It's the last one here. Don't worry about a lot of people posting because only admins can post. So you get the link when we go live. This is the entrepreneurs chat. We talk about business every weekday between 8 and 9. So you'd want to join and see who we are talking to. That's quite exciting, Lebo. That's quite exciting. I don't know if we can accept like requests. Maybe someone who wants to ask something. Whatever. I don't know how many more minutes we have here.
Yes, definitely.
All right, guys. So we are accepting your requests. So feel free to request if you've got a question for Lebo with regards to this. If you're excited, I mean, she's done food, as we've heard, catering. She's done meat. She's done now. She's so doing wines. So are you still doing the catering and the wine on the meat, or you dropped that now?
So the catering, I stopped a little bit because during the midst of everything, in when was it? When did COVID start? 2021.
Yeah, 2020.
Yes, I couldn't trade at that moment, which was the most difficult thing ever. There's nothing I was able to do at that point in time. So I started doing giftery business. So that's I'm still doing currently as well because I'm still able to add the wines onto the gifts that people order from me. So I still push both businesses.
Wow, man, that's exciting. That's exciting. So yes, guys. Yeah, we are accepting your request, and I think we can definitely have another live just with regards to. Otherwise, it will be information overload.
Overly.
With regards to distribution, I know you touched something, but yeah, packaging, distribution,
Yes.
because it's all about the packaging as well. If you're doing such a business in food and bev, you need to be able to package what you're doing, and obviously you need to be selling it out there and stuff. And so we can talk about obviously the challenges in terms of what you need to do to get it mainstream, to get your stuff into shops. I know
Yep.
we've got an example in DJ Cebu how yeah, you know,
Yo.
the more fire thing, even got fired for more fire. I mean,
Yeah, that's how hectic it
you
is.
know, like that's how we
That's
wanted to get this thing, but now, it's off the streets. Okay, the streets love it, number one, but now it's also now in some shops. I think it's now in some stores as well,
yeah,
which is quite exciting. I hear that, wherever you're going against the Coca-Colas and all these things, yeah, it's something, guys. It's not
yeah,
really a
it's
joke.
very hectic. So I hear
Yeah.
Lady is asking, am I able to have my recipe protected? Definitely. So remember in when you start the business or whenever it's in motion, whenever you're actually comfortable, let me put it like that, it is very, very, very necessary for me to start acquiring licenses, so becoming part of Wine South Africa, SAWIS, getting all the necessary license because trademarking is expensive, no lies. But having an agreement to say, okay, this is an NDA, this is a service level agreement between me and the farmer, this is how we're going to work. It states everything from the recipes, how we're going to work, how much is going to be paid monthly, what is it precisely that I'm paying for, how we're going to work, everything. It's there in the NDA and in the SLA. So it's important that if you are getting into a collaboration with any other business that's not yours, make sure you have the right documents in place.
Wow, no, no, that's very important. That's a great question, Lady Poppy. I mean, you need to get, those legal documents in place as well,
Definitely.
especially when it comes to intellectual property,
Yes.
like your recipes and stuff, as you're saying that, you do put input in terms of that. So,
Yeah.
Lebo, I don't know where can, obviously, where can we get your wines, those, want to get your wines and all these things. And you said, how many bottles do you push at the moment?
Yo, it's a lot in a month.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Wow.
It's a
That's
lot.
amazing.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Because the reason I'm saying it's a lot, ne? I'm just gonna give you a brief overview. So with the red wines, right? I've got a Cape Serve, I've got a Merlot, I've got Pinot Touch, I've got a Shiraz, I've got a sweet red, I've got a sweet rosé, right? That's six wine varieties under the red wines. Then onto the white ones, I've got a Chardonnay, I've got a Chardonnay Reserve, I've got a Sauvignon Blanc, I've got a sweet white,
Mm,
right? That's 10 now, wine varieties. Going on to the MCCs, I've got your Brut, I've got Nectar, I've got Blanc de Nord, I've got Rosé. Then there's the non-alcoholics, which include your Brut, your Nectar, and your Rosé. So in total, I've got 17 varieties, whereby out of that 17 varieties, there's sales from general public where people are buying individually, and then there's those that are buying on a monthly basis to say, okay, every month, can you bring me the specific amount of wines that I want? So already I know that from all those, 100 bottles are out.
wow. Man, that's amazing. That's amazing. I like when you say, what? I like when you say the names, right? Some people is just drinking white wine, red wine. Can I have a red dry? Can I have a dry? Very dry.
But
Very,
which dry
like
wine?
which
Because
dry, I just want to have a sweet one.
sweet, yeah.
Maybe,
I think
maybe
most
guys,
people are only
yeah.
familiar with the classifications of wine being your red wine, white wine, rosé. A lot of people don't know that there's also dessert wines, but there are dessert wines, and then there's also sparkling wines because in South Africa we only produce MCCs, not champagnes. So that's also something we need
Yeah.
to be familiar with.
There I was thinking MCC is a brand, but it's actually a sparkling wine type from what you're saying. You know what I'm trying to say? Man,
No,
that's crazy. But it's always great. I like that you love your craft. You know your craft. You know what you do. Man, this is amazing. Lady Poppy is asking, what are the costs the same to start a non-alcoholic wine brand?
they're actually much cheaper. for a
Wow.
non-alcoholic. They're actually much, much cheaper because the grapes don't have to be fermented for a longer period whereby the alcohol becomes stronger. So after the stamping and creating of the must, the grapes definitely get now to be what is it, produced so that the alcohol dies immediately. It dies down immediately. So they don't have to stay in a barrel for like your 24 hours, 5 days for it to consume and produce that proper alcohol that we find in wine. So with the non-alcoholics, definitely works out much cheaper. But with the non-alcoholics also, I personally prefer the sparkling ones because with the wines, it's like you just having a bland juice, you know. There isn't a specific taste that you get. There isn't a specific taste that you would get on your taste buds to actually, wake up. But then with the sparkling ones, the bubbles are creating that effect whereby you can feel the taste, you can smell, it lets out everything.
Man, where's the bland taste? Drinking grape juice.
Yes, it's like
So,
a mellow. I once experimented the non-alcoholic mellow. Yeah, it is the
mm,
blood of Jesus. Hey, it is. Now I understand what it is. It is because like literally it's like drinking a
use it for
juice that's
communion.
just it's like one of those healthy, how those healthy drinks taste.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
it's
it's like
like
nice.
that
Anyway,
wine without alcohol, but
wow.
with the sparkling, it's amazing.
Yeah, Joy, yes, she does have a non-alcohol range.
Yeah.
Uh, Man, this is definitely inspiring, guys. Well, everyone was gifting. Thank you very much, Portia, for the gifts. Mills 2625 Shepherd. Thank you very much, guys. Much love to you. Much love to you. Thank you for the gifts. Awesome, Mr. Positive. Thank you for the gifts as well. So cool stuff. So when else are you available so that we can just talk about the other stuff, just with regards to uh, you know um, just really packaging what you're doing, the market, engaging the market, and that sort of thing. I think obviously packaging, even in terms of, I think if you're, wine is lifestyle, your
Yes,
packaging has to be
definitely.
right.
Has
You
to
have to
be
package it
right.
well. It's people want to know, they have to. It's about more how you feel, I guess.
Yeah,
When
it
it's
is.
all about the feeling and the taste, I
It's
guess.
all about the feeling, and also because in South Africa, while we're on that packaging stuff, so in South Africa we have minimum machines to produce the type of um branding in terms of wine packaging for our wines. So I've recently discovered that we actually can do the foiling and basing of our packaging rather than having to do it abroad, which cost us less. So I'm just going to share that when we have our thing there. So I'm available Friday. Okay, my class for Friday is canceled. So I'm available Friday.
All right, cool stuff. No, so we can do it Friday then. So, guys, much love. Since there are no questions here, we did get some questions via, um, you know, comments and all these things. But no, this is very exciting. This is very exciting. So, yes, guys, thank you very much for tuning into the live level. Thank you very much for your time.